Okay, Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. So basically, yesterday we discussed the introduction of VMware vSphere. We talked about the course outline, that what would be discussed in this course. We also talked about the objectives of this course. We talked about which product would be discussed in this training. So today is the second day, and today we are going to discuss Introduction to vSphere and the Software Defined Data Center. It's the title of module number 2, but I have customized this slide because this is a demo session and I'm going to upload this on my YouTube channel. So unfortunately I cannot use the official course outline, the slides, but once you join the session you will be able to see the course, the slides of VMware, official slides of VMware. But this is a demo session, so I just customized this slide. I created my own slides so that I can discuss some of the topics. So basically in this module, what we will learn in this module. So we will start from overview of vSphere and virtual machines. We will talk about vSphere virtualization of resources, and then we have two other topics. So the first two topics are theoretical topics, conceptual topics, and the last two topics are basically labs. How we can install ESXi, how we can access it, how we can create VMs, so all these things, right? So feel free to stop me whenever you have a question. You can stop me and I can answer your questions. So let's move forward. What is virtualization? Yesterday we discussed that it is a technology, right? It is a technology which reduce IT cost, and virtualization has different types. We have desktop virtualization, we have application virtualization, we have server virtualization, storage virtualization, network virtualization. I copied this image from this site, so I just also keep their website name as well. You can also visit this site and you can read about this slide in details more. So this is a general slide, it's not a VMware slide, but we are discussing VMware technologies. So it's a company, VMware is a company. So VMware has a product for desktop virtualization, VMware has a product for application virtualization, server virtualization, storage and network. So basically we are discussing this thing in this training, server virtualization. In the product of server virtualization is vSphere, right? vSphere product, which is why the training name is VMware vSphere version 7, install, configure and manage. So and I think yesterday I already discussed the course outline with you guys, so I will not take that much time on the course outline, so I will focus on this today's lecture. But again I will pause for a while. If you have any question you can ask me, if no I can move forward. So I think no questions so far, so I will come back to this slide. What is the role of vSphere in software defined data center? What is SDDC? SDDC means software defined data center. Do you know data center, guys? Data center is basically server room. So if you have to build a server room, you need server hardware, you need storage, you need network devices, you need firewalls for security, network security, you need UPS, you need cooling system. So software defined data center is built by software. Like we use vSphere for server virtualization, we use vSAN for storage, we use NS6T for network virtualization and security, right? And then we will discuss how we can manage our vSphere environment using Skyline. What is Skyline? So, have you worked on VMware technologies? Normally, if you have a VMware environment, so if you have to purchase a license from VMware, right? So, VMware will give you a license. You will have to pay for it. What is we will discuss licensing in module 4, but just give an idea. Just get an idea. So you will get support as well, right? From VMware side. Do you know support? If you have any problem in your environment, you can generate a ticket and you contact VMware that I need a support. I have some configuration issue. I have some feature issue, and they will connect you with one of the VMware engineer, and you will get support from VMware. So this is a reactive support. Reactive support means we get a problem and we contacted VMware. So basically Skyline is a proactive support technology by VMware side. An interesting thing is we have a free training available on VMware Skyline, and also you will get a free certificate and you will get a free badge as well. So you can write VMware Skyline Advisor Pro Technologist, and once you click here it will redirect you to the official page, and you can enroll yourself. You can start this training, and you can let me post it here. You can copy this link, and once you complete the training you will get a free badge from VMware side. You will also get a free certificate, and you can post it on your social media or LinkedIn or whatever you want. Skyline. So we will also discuss Skyline. What is Skyline, and we will discuss that. This slide. What is this slide about? This slide is basically a guidelines. You know operating system? Windows, Linux, Mac OS. So if you see operating system word in my training, so I will be talking about Windows, Linux and all these stuff. If you see a word called application in my slides during the training, so it means that MS Office, Active Directory, DNS, databases, these are applications. If you see virtual machine, it's a virtual machines. What is virtual machines? It's a computer, software based computer. And we do have a topic here. Let me access the lab for you guys. So let me log into my lab and let me just show you. In the meantime, we can discuss the slides. Okay, guest. What is guest? Guest machine. So if I say guest machine, it means that I'm talking about virtual machine. If I say guest OS, it means that I'm talking about operating system installed on the virtual machine, right? We discussed yesterday that basically in virtualization technology, what we do, we install a hypervisor. This is suppose our hardware. So on top of hardware, we install hypervisor, and in this training, we will learn which hypervisor? ESXi hypervisor. So I have installed this hypervisor. So when you install ESXi hypervisor, and if you have to run applications, we create virtual machine, and on top of the virtual machines we install operating system, right? And then we install applications, right? So this is virtual machines. These are virtual machines, right? So this is called guest OS. Operating system which is installed on the virtual machine is called guest OS. This is guest machine. Guest machine. This is called host. Host is a hardware on which the hypervisor is installed. If you are in my laptop, let me show you. I have VMware workstation installed, right? So VMware workstation is also a hypervisor, but it is a type 2 hypervisor. So this hypervisor is installed on my Windows 10 machine. So my Windows 10 machine is host machine. My laptop is host machine because it has the hypervisor installed. And when this machine, this is a VM, so this is my guest machine, right? Hypervisor, you are already familiar. We discussed yesterday that we have two types of hypervisor, type 1 and type 2. So type 1 is basically installed directly on hardware, and ESXi is an example. And VMware workstation is the example of type 2 hypervisor. What is host? A machine which has hypervisor installed. What is vSphere? A suite, a product. And vSphere consists of two products, ESXi and vCenter server. We discussed yesterday. What is cluster? So this is our topic in module number 9, cluster. And let me tell you the story of a cluster. For example, you have 3 ESXi hosts in your environment. This is your ESXi 1. This is your ESXi 2. And this is your ESXi 3. Right? You have these 3 ESXi hosts here. They all are connected to the switch. Right? This is your Ethernet, let's suppose Cisco switch. And all the hypervisor are connected here. And each ESXi host has 16 GB RAM, right? So for example, I have to run a virtual machine on one of the hosts, and I need to assign 20 GB RAM to that virtual machine, because this virtual machine has a critical application which need minimum 20 GB of RAM, right? So is it possible that I can run this 20 GB machine on this host? No, I cannot run it here, because this host has also 16 GB of physical RAM, and even I cannot run here. But if I create a cluster of all these three hosts, right? So what I can do, I can create a pool of all the three ESXi hosts, right? I'm coming to your point, Mr. Umar Farooq. So if I create a cluster of these three hosts, what will happen? It will combine the resources of the three ESXi hosts. When we create a cluster, what happens actually? The resources of the three ESXi hosts are combined. So 16 multiplied by 3 is equal to how much? 48 GB RAM, I believe. Am I right? I'm very bad at maths. I was good in second year, but it's been a long time. So that's the story. So now we will be able to run a 20 GB VMs on the cluster, because it is now a cluster, and you can see here. Let me log into my vCenter server. Do not confuse yourself. This is a ready lab, but during the lecture, the training, I will teach you how we can build this lab from the scratch, from the zero, right? But as you can see here, we have this vCenter server, and we have a data center, and we have this cluster already created here. And when I go to when I click on summary tab, I can see the cluster capacity is 8 GB, sorry, 12 GB, I believe. So it means that each ESXi host has 6 GB of RAM, and this is the story. So they created a cluster of 2 ESXi hosts, and we can have up to 64 ESXi hosts in a single cluster. And why we need to create a cluster? Because we have some feature, high availability feature, DRS feature, EVC, vSAN. These are the features which required a cluster to be created first. These are cluster level feature. So during the lecture, during the training, when you see cluster somewhere, it means that the cluster means a group of ESXi host. Yes, for redundancy purpose, for load balancing purpose. What was your other question, Mr. Umar Farooq? So I can answer you. Okay. Looks like okay, no problem. What is vSphere vMotion feature? Basically, what is vMotion? Let me just show you a quick overview. Can we install hypervisor on Windows Server? Yes. If you can install VMware Workstation, you can install Oracle VirtualBox on your Windows Server operating system. but ESXi hypervisor will be directly installed on the hardware. It is a type 1 hypervisor, and that's a good question actually. uh, let's say you want to practice, right? So I believe most of you has a laptop available, right? And already you have installed uh, operating system. For example, Windows 10 is already installed. So I can give you I mean let me give you a demo real quick. First, install VMware Workstation, right? You can, if you do not know VMware Workstation, I already uploaded some of the lectures to my YouTube channel. You can watch the full training of VMware Workstation there. I have uploaded already to my YouTube channel. If you do not know my YouTube channel, this is the link. You can find me there, and you can write Kashif Buneri IT trainer and you will find me there on the YouTube, and you can go to playlist and there you will find VMware Workstation. So on VMware Workstation, what you can do, you can create a VM, right? And then you can install ESXi on top of the VM just for practice purpose. So this will be a hardware. A VM will be like a hardware for this hypervisor, and this is called nested virtualization. You have already hypervisor running, but you install another hypervisor on top of the other hypervisor, right? So this is just for test purpose or practice purpose, right? You can do that as well. Thank you, Umar Farooq. So any question, guys? That was the answer to Umar Farooq questions. If you want to, do not worry if you do not have a hardware, because normally in production environment, what we do basically, we will purchase a server hardware. This is my server hardware. If you do not know server hardware, let me show you. You can Google, you can write server hardware, and there you can find different hardwares, right? Dell, HP, Cisco, Lenovo, right? We have different vendors, and that's the story. Let's say you purchase this hardware. This is the hardware. So this is your server hardware. It's also a CPU, but this is a specialized CPU, you can say, right? It has the capability to add more RAM, right? Normally in our laptop, I believe the laptop which I am using, I think it only supports 16 GB or 32 GB RAM. It does not support more than 32 GB RAM. But if you have a server hardware, you can attach up to 1 TB, 2 TB, 3 TB, 4 TB RAM, right? Are we good? So you will have this hardware, and then when you have the hardware, you will install ESXi hypervisor on top of the hardware, just like this, right? And then you will create VMs. Are you guys getting me? So if you want to practice on this technology, you should have a separate hardware, because when you install hypervisor on the hardware directly, it will format your disk, right? So the best practice is that you can use your personal laptop using VMware Workstation, and you can create a VM over there, and then you can install ESXi hypervisor. Then you will learn some of the options, but make sure that there are some labs which need more resources. So if you have a question in your mind that what would be the minimum hardware requirement to perform all the labs, so my answer would be 32 GB RAM. This is my personal experience. Minimum RAM for all the vSphere labs. The best practice is 64 GB RAM, but this is just my personal experience that if you have a single hardware of 32 GB RAM, you can perform this. So how you will utilize? Okay, one more thing. Basically, to understand the complete training, right? If you want to understand all the features of this product, you need to have minimum 3 ESXi hosts. You need to have 3 ESXi hosts minimum, just for learning purpose, right? Then you need a network connectivity, so that all the ESXi host must be connected, right? Again, if you want to manage all the 3 hosts from a single point, you need something called vCenter server. We will discuss that. vCenter server to manage all the 3 hosts from a single point. You also need a shared storage, right? Shared storage, and make sure that the shared storage should be connected on a separate network. So you need to have a storage switch as well, right? And each host will be connected to shared storage switch as well, right? And you also need a domain controller, right? Domain controller means Active Directory, domain services, and DNS service. You also need a management PC, right? So how many hardwares do you need? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Suppose for management you need another hardware, you need this box as well. What is shared storage? We will discuss in module number 4, but let me just give you an overview. SAN storage array, right? These are the boxes. So it means that this training is gonna be expensive for you guys on practice wise. So let me make it easy for you. Basically what I do and what I suggest to my students, basically I have a single hardware available with me, right? I have a single hardware. This hardware has 64 GB of RAM. You can use 32 GB RAM as well. And then I have, like, I believe 16 cores of CPU. You can have 8, doesn't matter. I have 1 TB of disk storage. You can have 500 GB, that's fine. And I have 1 Gbps of network interface adapter controller. And on top of this hardware, I have installed ESXi hypervisor. This is my real lab. I'm just sharing my experience with you guys. Then I created 3 virtual machines 1, 2, and 3, and these are my 3 ESXi hosts. So this is my nested lab. Then I created another VM here, and on that VM I installed server operating system, and then this machine is my Active Direct domain controller, actually ADDS and DNS. uh, then vCenter server is basically a virtual appliance. We will discuss in module number 4 actually. So I have my vCenter server VM also running here. It's a Photon operating system is already installed on that VM, and vCenter service is running here. So now the last thing is my shared storage. So what I did actually, I created another virtual machine here on the same host, this one, and I have installed server 2019 on top of this, and I have a software called Starwind. It's a software defined storage. Starwind, iSCSI software. So this is my complete lab. These are my 3 ESXi hosts which I manage from this vCenter server. Active Directory domain services is also running here, and this is my storage. This machine provides a shared storage to my ESXi host, and I created by default an ESXi host has a vSwitch 0. It is by default created. We will discuss that in module number 5, and all the machines are connected here like this. And for storage I separated my network. So I created another switch on top of this hypervisor, vSwitch 1. We will discuss this in module number 6 and 5. And I connected my storage device here, and that's like this. So this is my complete home lab, and this lab I use for my classes as well. So during my training I will start from installing of ESXi hypervisor. Then I will show you how we can access hypervisor. Then I will teach you how we can create VMs on hypervisor. Once we are done, then I will show you how we can deploy vCenter server, how we can add these 3 ESXi hosts to my vCenter server, how I can manage the networking, and how I can connect my vCenter server into Active Directory so that I can use my Active Directory user to log into my vCenter server. Then in module number 6 we will discuss storage. Once we are done with storage, we will discuss vMotion, storage vMotion, template, cloning, snapshot in module 7. Module 8 is all about resource management and monitoring. Module number 9 is all about high availability and FT and DRS feature. And module number 10, this is another module which is not included in the official course, but I will also teach you. That's regarding the distributed virtual switch. And the last topic is life cycle manager. So this is a discussion for all those who wants to build their own lab. So it means that I mean, you do not have to worry about that. You can build your own lab using a single hardware and look at it. I have some of my friends, they basically purchased Intel NUC. These are mini machines. So I have one of my friend, he purchased three machines like this. And I have some of my friends, they purchase only one server hardware and they install ES6i and they build a nested lab. So it's up to you guys. If you are okay with nested lab, this is your path, right? And one more thing, if you do not have your own hardware, you can play with some of the features, most of the feature using VMware HOL. So just like currently I do not have access to my lab, so I just access the VMware HOL lab to give you a demo. So here you can see all, you can play with all the options here as well. Yes, that's correct, Mr. Izhar. Because we will discuss during installation. You will get the idea. Now, any question regarding the lab, regarding the different options? If you have any question, I will pause for a while so that I can answer your question. No question so far.
Yes, sir. I'm Ashik here.
Okay, yep, go ahead.
But I have small questions. According to the VMware workstation and VMware lab, we have to talk about type 1, type 2.
Mm-hmm.
For the learning purpose, we can use VMware workstation in my laptop, right? But in a real environment, we have to use virtual lab, right?
No, no.
So here I'm asking, you are
Okay,
talking in the company environment. We
let
have
me,
to install.
sorry, let me stop you. Let me stop you. Basically, and then you can continue. So, VMware HOL can be used anytime. It is not something you will have to use on production environment. You can use it for free. It's available for all of you. There is no payment. You can create a VMware account for free. You can use this lab for your own learning purpose or to understand some of the features. You can always use this feature. And see, on the manual side you can see table of contents. You can expand this and you can also select the specific feature. Let's say your company wants you to understand FT and you do not have knowledge. So you can come here and you can select FT and see, now you are in 137 number page and you can read something about FT. When you click next, maybe they give you some additional links and you can open those links and you can see here there are some labs. See the performance best practice VMware vSphere. So it will also give you some article. You can go for it and you can read it. So if you have a laptop, then I'm giving you a chance so that you can continue, Mr. Azik. So let's say you have this laptop. This is your personal laptop, right? And you have on your laptop you have 64 or 32 GB RAM. So what you can do, you can build the same lab here as well on this laptop. Are you getting me?
Yes, I got it. In the real environment, in the working environment, we are using, and so many friends also using the VMware lab, right? So in this situation, the scenario in a company environment, we have one hardware, the other one is we have to install the ESI server, then we can install the multiple OS using VM, right? At the same time, we can manage in the VM sender, right? vSender, right? So in this scenario, normally we can use in our office environment. But how it's working the remote control working, remote using the virtual lab? How is possible? Why you want to use in the remote using the VMware? I mean, virtual lab. Little bit confusing in a real environment, real office environment. We are using the real hardware. We can use the as you was said, we can use everything. Why you want to use in the virtualization lab in the like you are saying that you are explaining the virtual lab
Okay.
using the
Uh,
bit confusing that.
okay. Let me explain it. Basically, these two diagrams which you are showing right now, these are for learning purpose and for testing purpose and for training purpose, right? In production environment, you will have separate hardware, multiple hardwares, right? Hardware 1, hardware 2, hardware 3. Each hardware will have hypervisor installed, right? So let me give you an overview of production environment. So let's say you have this production environment, right? This is your production environment. You have three different physical hardware. They are connected to Cisco switch, right? And one of the hardware, if you have to install vCenter server, right? So vCenter server will be installed on one of the ESXi host, and we will discuss this in module number 4, that how we can deploy vCenter server and what is the best practice of deploying vCenter server. So this is your vCenter server machine. It will be deployed as a VM on one of the ESXi host. Then there will be a shared storage array, right? There will be a storage array, fiber channel storage array. Let's suppose this is your fiber channel SAN storage array. This array will be connected to a storage switch, right? This is, I'm talking about the production environment, right? There will be a storage switch. You can also use the same Cisco switch, but this is not something recommended, right? Because you have to separate your storage traffic from the management and VM's traffic, right? So each ESXi host will have its own storage adapter, which we called it HBA, hardware bus adapter, right? So we will learn something in during the class in when we start module number 6. It's all about storage technology. But to answer your question, this is the thing which I'm trying to explain it. These are basically for learning purpose, for my class purpose, for training, for testing, this one or this one. Or you can use VMware HOL, which is free online available. If you do not have much resources in your lab, I will teach you during the class. For each module I will share the lab options and you can play the same options over there. Are you getting me, Mr. Azik?
Yes, exactly. But
So that's the story. This is basically the production environment story. Anyone else has any question? No question so far. So we talked about vSphere, vMotion. What is vMotion? We will discuss in module 7, but let me just give you an overview. As you can see here, I have this virtual machine Windows 10 running. This VM is running on which host? This one here, on this host. I want to move this VM to ESXi 1001. I can click migrate. I can change host and I can select ESXi 101 and I can move it. See, I just moved a powered on virtual machine from ESXi 2 to ESXi 1. This process is called vMotion. So this is not that much simple. We need to do some configurations for that. We need to enable vMotion feature on a VM kernel port group. We need to configure shared storage. So which is why you guys are here, so that you can understand how you can build the lab, right? So this is all, this all topics, this the vMotion topic will be discussed in module 7. We will discuss that, right? And let's see high availability and DRS feature. What is this about? So DRS, basically we want to separate our storage traffic from the management and virtual machine traffic. Do you know VLANs? Okay, why we create VLANs, Mr. Umar? So that we can isolate different traffic, right? Why? For better performance. Same is the case here. We want to separate. Yes, you are right. We want to separate our traffic, uh, production, virtual machine traffic from the storage traffic. Are we good? Okay. Okay, that's a good question, Mr. Izhar. Izhar question is that how many ESXi hosts can be managed by a single vCenter server? So basically, I believe 2500 ESXi host can be managed by a single vCenter server, but it depends on the license you have. If you have vCenter server essential license, you can only manage 3 ESXi hosts. If you have vCenter server foundation, you can only manage 4 ESXi hosts from a single vCenter server. And if you have vCenter server standard, you can manage unlimited. Unlimited means 2500 ESXi host from a single vCenter server, but it also depends the deployment size of a vCenter server. So during deployment of vCenter server, it will give you an option of tiny, small, large, medium, extra large. So if you have a tiny vCenter server deployment, you can only manage 10 ESXi hosts, even if you have a vCenter server standard license. So I hope I didn't confuse you, and I hope you get your answer. Perfect. High availability. This is module number 9 feature. So if you can see here, this Windows 10 VM is running here. So if high availability is enabled on a cluster, and if this host goes down for some reason, we have some issue, so HA will restart this Windows 10 machine on the other ESXi host. So in module number 9, we will discuss that how we can configure DRS feature. This is by default, this is turn off, so I can turn it on. and we will discuss high availability option. This is also powered off. Okay, this is not only a powered on and power off option. Once you click edit, we have to understand these options: partially automated, manual, fully automated. We have to understand this. So which is why we have a separate topic in module number 9 for DRS feature. We do have another feature called DPM, distributed power management. This feature, what is this feature? Basically, let's say you have a big environment, I would say small environment, and you have 10 ESXi hosts, right? So during night time, you don't have that much workload. So if you have DPM and DRS feature enabled, what will happen? They both will work together, and DPM will put some of the ESXi host in sleep mode. They will keep some of the hardware in sleep mode, and DRS will move the virtual machine from those hardware to the active, from those ESXi host to the active host. And during the night time, because of DPM and DRS, 5 hardwares will be in sleeping mode. So you can save the energy saving, you can save energy, power consumption, right? So this is also a good feature by VMware, but it is supported on some of the, you have to have a supported hardwares available. So I hope there should be no question regarding this slide. Any question? Are we good? No, HA feature cannot be without cluster. It is a cluster based feature. Cluster is hard. So looks like no question so far. So I will move forward with the next slide. What is virtual machine? Let's talk about VMs. This is a virtual machine. See here, Windows 10. This is my VM. This virtual machine has a RAM, just like a physical machine has a RAM. It has a CPU, it has a disk, network adapter, virtual DVD room, video card, VMCI device. It has operating system installed. See, right? I can log into this VM just like I'm working on a physical machine, right? And the best part is I can move this virtual machine from one hardware to another hardware anytime without any downtime, right? So if something happens to the hardware, I do not have to worry, because the virtual machine is a separate folder. It's like uh, a software representation of a physical machine, right? You can see here it has a Windows operating system installed. You can have a Linux VMs, and this slides explains the benefit of VM. So normally we have our hardware, and hardware we install our operating system directly. So if something happens to my hardware, my operating system will be stop working and my application will be stop working. So first of all, in production environment, this is not a good practice to host multiple application on a single operating system. Let's say this is your DNS service application. Let's say this is your web server. Let's say this is your database. You cannot have all those on the same machine. Why? So I think I explained the uh, the scenario, the disadvantages or the reason yesterday. A question from Mr. Izhar regarding, is there any difference between VM and physical machine? Yes. See here, this is my physical machine and this is my VM. So I can move my VM from one hardware to another hardware. But can I move my operating system from this physical machine? No, I cannot. Right? So there is a difference between physical and VMs. Normally, performance wise or function wise, uh, VM has also a RAM. So it's like a software representation of a computer, physical machine. No, not feature wise. The same operating system. See, there is no difference. Start menu, everything is same. There will be no difference. Okay, guys. So we discussed this portion also. Now let's come to the lab. We are going to perform a lab. So our lab is how to install ESXi. This is our lab, right? How to install ESXi hypervisor. So first of all, we need to understand that what is the latest version of ESXi hypervisor. So the latest version of ESXi hypervisor is ESXi update 3F. This is the latest version. ESXi 7.0 update 3F. So I started from ESXi 5.5 back in 2014. Then ESXi 6.0, 6.5, 6.7, then 6.7 update 1, update 2, update 3. Same is the case with 6.5. Now we have 7.0, update 1, update 2, update 3, and update 3F is the latest version. What does this mean? Basically, uh, nowadays you see there are security issues, attacks from different sides. So let's suppose if VMware found or any other customer found any bugs in the version of ESXi, so they can report that and VMware can work and they will release another update, right? So we need this one, right? So I already downloaded this from VMware side. You can also download it. You can write download. Once you click download, it will redirect you to VMware site. Once you visit there, you can download it. You need to have a VMware account. You can create a free account there. So once you download the ISO file, let me just show you. I already downloaded a file and you can see here. Let me copy the file name. This is the version I just downloaded today, right? This file .iso file, I downloaded it from VMware site. When you download this ISO file, you can make a bootable USB. Okay, good question, Azik. I am going to answer you. So you can download it. Once you download this ISO file, you can make a bootable USB. using Rufus. Most of the time I use Rufus. You can use any other software, right? And you can install this hypervisor on a hardware directly. One more thing, if you have a Dell hardware or if you have a HP hardware, so let's suppose you have a Dell hardware, so you can write ESXi 7.0 update 3F Dell customized ISO download, and it will redirect you to Dell website instead of VMware site, and you can download the ISO file from Dell website directly for your Dell servers. The reason is, when you download a Dell customized ISO from Dell site and you install it on your Dell servers, you can, it will make your life easy. You don't have to install some of the patches and drivers manually because it will be already available there with the Dell customized ISO. And same is the case for HPE uh, servers, right? I was installing ESXi on one of my students' server, and when I installed it, I was not able to detect the network adapter of that physical server. Then I Googled it and I found that I need to download the customized ISO from HPE site. Same is the case for Lenovo and IBM, Mr. Umar Farooq. So customize ISO, and you do not have to worry. Nowadays, when you purchase a server hardware and you tell them that, hey, I need this hardware for my ESXi and I need an ISO ESXi already be installed on that hardware, so they will send you a server hardware with ESXi already installed, and I have seen it many times. So is it free license? Let me answer you, Mr. Azik. If you have a single hardware like this, you can download free version of ESXi and you can install it here. You don't have to pay for it. But if you want to manage those 3 ESXi hosts from vCenter server, then you have to purchase license for vCenter server and also for the ESXi host as well. So without vCenter server you do not have to pay. With vCenter server you have to pay for the host. You have to purchase a license for all the 3 hosts and also for vCenter server. So maybe you are thinking, when I was thinking the same before, back in the days, that's better do not deploy the vCenter server. But if you do not have vCenter server, you do not have vMotion feature, you do not have high availability feature, you do not have FT, you do not have DRS. So all these features comes with vCenter server. You got it? And let me show you practically. This is my vCenter server, and let me log into my host directly. This is my another host, and I just log into my host without vCenter server, right? So once you logged in, and I do not have any options here. I do not have vMotion option here. I do not have cluster and high availability option here. but I have everything here, and even see the difference. Let me just show you one thing. uh, my internet is not stable. When I right click on my host and I click new VM, how many option I can see? 1 2 3 4 5 6 6, right? And if I click here and I need to create a VM, I have only 3 options. So this is just a small example for you guys to see the difference between managing a host from vCenter server and managing it without vCenter server. Are we good? So I think it answered your question, Mr. Azik. Okay, so now let's come to the lab. So do you understand that how to install ESXi hypervisor? So we need to download the ISO image from VMware side or from vendor side. That's one thing. Another thing we need to understand, ESXi 7.0 installation requirements. How many minimum RAM we should have? 4 GB RAM is enough minimum. 2 core CPU is enough, right? 32 or 40 GB disk is enough, right? You can see here 32 GB storage, SSD, HDD, right? Even you can install hypervisor on USB, but this is not something recommended now. So it's better to install it on SSD, right? And uh, that's the story, right? One more thing you have to do, you have to enable virtualization technology from BIOS, VT technology, so that you can run 64-bit virtual machines on your ESXi host. So let me go there. How to enable VT on Dell server BIOS, and maybe you will find some pictures here. So you will have to go to the BIOS of your server hardware and you will have to enable this option, right? Intel VT technology or AMD, you have to do that. So once you downloaded the ISO file, make a bootable USB, connect that to the hardware and directly install it on your hardware. So for learning purpose, what you can do, you can if you have VMware Workstation installed, just like I have installed VMware Workstation just like this, right? So I can use my VMware Workstation for practice purpose, and I can create a VM like this. What is VMware Workstation? I do have some video recording available. ESXi batch 25. I am only attaching 40 GB disk, which I will be using for installation, and I can click next and finish. So I can see here I have my hardware available, which has 4 GB of RAM, 2 processor, 40 GB disk, and that's it. But I can also attach another disk. You can also do the same. You can add disk which will be 50 GB. So why I am attaching two disks? The reason is the disk 1 will be used for ESXi installation and this will be used for VM data. In production environment, in real environment, normally in server hardware we have SSD. So we install hypervisor on SSDs and the servers are connected to storage arrays and the VM data are stored in the server storage arrays. So just like, let me show you here. In this lab you can see, let me just show you. I think I need to make it small. And you can see here in this lab I can see data stores and I have shared storage. So all my VM's data are stored here and the hypervisor is installed on the local disk or SSDs. So the reason I attach another disk, so I can install this hypervisor here and I will use this one here. So this is my hardware, right? This VM, consider this is in your hardware. Then attach the ISO file. I already downloaded ISO file. So what I will do, I will attach that ISO file to my this VM and I will click powered on. So you should only focus on the black screen. So we are going to learn this, that how we can install ESXi. Okay. VMware Workstation 16 Pro is a stable version. You have to update it. Okay. So any question during installation of this? So just consider that, guys, that I have a hardware. Just think about like that I have this hardware, right? This hardware has 4 GB of RAM, which is not enough. 2 cores CPU, disk 1 40 GB, disk 2 50 GB and 1 Gbps network adapter. Mr. Masood, you can download it from VMware site directly. If I send you now, what will you do in production environment? I will not be available all the time. So it's better that you Google it and download the ISO file from VMware site. I can upload it, but that's not a good approach. I should give you some tough time. You know, this way you will learn a lot. Learn to do your work on your own. So I'm going to install this. So what will happen? This 40 GB disk I'm going to select for hypervisor. So what will happen actually, the 40 GB disk will be formatted in VMFS file system. What is VMFS? We will discuss in module number 6 actually, storage portion. Right, so let's see what we get here. This is the installation steps. The same window, the same option you will see when you are installing the hypervisor on your physical machine. Any question, guys? I will pause the video for a while. Okay, so basically let's suppose this is your production environment, right? Sorry, let me delete it. In production environment, let's suppose you have 3 hardware and you have installed ESXi on each hardware. So vCenter server is a ready-made VM. It's a virtual appliance. So you can download that appliance and you can deploy it as a VM on any of the ESXi host. Let's suppose here. So this is your vCenter server. So you will learn the deployment of vCenter server in module 4 actually. But this is the story, right? The vCenter server will be deployed as a virtual machine on any of the ESXi host. This one, or this one. Does it answer your question, Mr. Azik? If you are talking, you are mute. Okay, so basically vCenter server is a virtual appliance, right, which will be deployed as a virtual machine on any of the ESXi host which you already configured or installed. It's a virtual machine, virtual appliance, a ready-made virtual machine. We will learn this in upcoming lectures. So, and I will see if I have a video lecture uploaded on the YouTube channel, so you can also look for it as well. And if you are planning to join the session, you will learn in module number 4. Okay, one more thing. This is important thing that you need to understand. You need to check whether your hardware support 7.0 or not. So if you have an older hardware, maybe it doesn't support 7.0, then in that case you need to upgrade your hardware. So my laptop supports 7.0, so I will just click continue and I will accept it, and now it will scan the disk, the drives. So I have 2 disks, one is 40 GB and the other one is 50. So I will use my 40 GB disk, right? And this is the default. By default, the ESXi hypervisor has a default user called root. So we are going to set a password. So this password will be used to manage this ESXi host, right? So I'm going to set a password here. So once you set a password, the installation will be started. So this was a very simple thing, that how you can install ESXi hypervisor. So this was the installation portion. Once you finish installation, then you have to do the basic configuration, like you have to configure the IP address, right, host name, DNS IP, the gateway, IPv6 and IPv4 configuration. So we can For that, we will log into our ESXi host using DCUI, which is called Direct Console User Interface. Let me just show you here. This screen, you are showing this one. This is called, this yellow and gray screen is called DCUI. DCUI. So we will log into our vCenter server, ESXi host using this. We will do the basic configuration, and once we are finished, we can open a browser tab on any of Windows 10 or any other machine. We can write the IP address of the ESXi host like this. Once we do that, we will open it using HTTP and we will see this configuration. So I think, okay, almost we are there, so we will wait for it. And let me just power off this one actually, because I already have another machine ready, so I will power on this one, right? So let me just show you here all the thing. So let's assume that the installation is done. So once the installation is done, you will see this black screen. So this is one time interaction of with the hardware. Once you set this hardware, you don't need to log into that hardware directly. You can log in, you can access it through browser, right? Any question, guys? No question so far. Okay, perfect. So let's wait so that I can show you the basic things, and then we can move forward. Okay, we are almost there. I think I should stop recording for a while because it is taking too much. You can see here, this is called DCUI, Direct Console User Interface. You can hit F2 button. You can use the password which you select during the installation. From here, you can change configure management network. You can see network adapters. I have only one network adapter. We will discuss this in module 5. I can change VLAN. Also we will discuss this in module 5 because this is something related to network stuff. I can change the IP address. I can disable and enable IPv6. I can change the DNS entry once you are done with this, right? You don't need to come here. You can just open CMD. You can ping your machine. It's responding. I can open a tab here. I can write HTTPS 18.198 and my host is available now, right? So what we have learned so far: how to install ESXi host, how to do the basic configuration, and how to access it. Okay, one more thing. I already added my disk here, but if when you are adding it, you can click new data store, you can create a new VMFS, you can write any name, you can select the second host, the second data store disk, and it will show you as a data store. What is data store? This is module number 6 topic, right? So I hope you learned something today. Even if this is not something enough for you guys, you have this VMware HOL available. You can also join my session. From next week my regular classes will be started. So my class timing will be 10:15 p.m. to 12 a.m. This would be my class timing, Saturday and Sunday, right? So if you are looking for details, you can ping me on my WhatsApp, or you can just send me an email. If you do not have my email address, let me just show you my email address. So this is my email address. You can send an email to me and I will get back to you with details. So thank you everyone for staying here, for joining, and those who missed to join, they can still watch this video. So take care. Allah Hafiz.